I did not open up our editor. Let's get that going. So let's see. So do you think that Rust can be a good solution for you? Yeah, I mean, so if your plan is to learn Rust, then I mean, I'm one of the biggest advocates for making a game in that language in order to learn. Um, and so if that's your goal, then I think there's a lot of good solutions out there for you. Now that being said, if you don't know any, like you may need to learn some like game physics type stuff. GGEZ, for example, doesn't give you very much in the way of like helping you out physics wise or collision detection or any of that like sort of game math type way. But um, it also forces you to program a lot in Rust. So you'll end up, well, solving a lot of problems, learning a lot of things. Well, thank you, Ergazia. Okay, so what's the plan? What are we doing? We wanted to, and I think there, put in my marker in just in case I forgot. Last question. I'm 18 years old and looking for programming ideas to have a better resume. Do you have any ideas? I would tailor your resume towards like whatever company you're going for. Um, so if you basically you want to show that you provide some kind of value for the company that you're trying to be hired as. So if you can create some kind of like project where they can see the value in it and they can understand it, so they need to understand the domain of something. So something that like solves a problem that they understand. So it doesn't have to be like trying to recreate their application or their website or whatever it is. But it could be something like, oh, they're a company that has like, deals with a lot of support stuff. Then you can sort of like create basically a bug tracker for yourself. Or um, if they're building really interesting um, designed applications, you could try to re-implement designs from similar companies, but with their branding. Now, that's just like a general idea. I've always had a big problem with this too. Once you get to the point where you've got a couple jobs under your belt, it becomes a lot less of a problem. So I treat this like is a temporary thing. Like it is not going to be something that's going to you're going to have to rely upon for forever. It's just going to be the first couple jobs. Um, build a couple different final projects. Like from computer science classes. Like something you can show off your skills because you don't have that. What it is, yeah, I'm not really doing a great job of answering that because that's so dependent upon the company you're going for. And I don't know if I can help out with that right now. But if you have like an industry or like a specific company you're going for, research that company. If you can even find somebody who works there, you can ask them what is a problem that they're like, that they would love to see solved, and then you can build a prototype in that space. All right. I think what we wanted to do was we want to take entity and we wanted to give the entities a state here. Absolutely, glad to answer that, Ergazi. Yeah. Um, we want to give these entities a state so we can know like, oh, they're falling, they're static, they're that, or they have no state whatsoever. So because of that, I want to create a new folder. I'm going to call this entity. I'm going to move entity in here and rename it to mod. And I'm also going to create a entity state.rs. So pub mod and entity state. All right, so now we should be able to handle this. You know some library for native application development in Rust or like just in general? And which operating system? There's a lot of choices there. In Rust. And I'm assuming you're talking about graphical and not command line. Let's see, I want a pub enum state GUI. Yeah, I don't know of any fully released ones. I know the author of a library called Pushrod, but it's not completed yet, and so isn't really there. And like the state of things seems to be still heavily in flux. So it feels to me like Rust isn't quite there yet for graphical development for Windows type stuff, or even like for anything really. Given a little bit of time, it will probably get there, but it's just not there right now. I can't wait because that'll be a lot of fun to try to build something like, some native graphical stuff. All right. Enum entity state. Yeah, so Peyton rules. See if I can find. I need a list of my follows. Peyton rules. Yes, got the spelling right. So Peyton rules. That's the username. Is a Twitch streamer. He's live right now. And he's doing a to-do application in Rust and Godot. And it's graphical. So I guess that's like the closest we can get right now. Give a link to his channel. There is that. And he's a friend of the stream too. So he's rated sometimes, and we've watched each other's streams every once in a while. So I would recommend giving him a follow and taking a look at some of the stuff that he's been doing. If you want to learn some graphical programming with Rust. All right, entity state. So what can we have? Well, first of all, we're gonna have a potential for no state, right? Because I think we have to put in a none here. For example, our static, the platform itself is a none, right? Like there's not going to be any state that it has unless I put like static in here, which maybe I should. But maybe I should have like a type also. However, our player is going to have falling and standing. And so this basically can be like all the states they can be in. So like enemies, for example, if I create them that are sort of walking around, they could also have falling and standing. And then we can pass this state around, and so like the graphic system can say, oh, it's this, we're probably gonna have to have a type too. And then the combination of these two will really be what helps us out here. So let's do entity state is none, falling, or standing. So in here, we're gonna have a state. I'm not gonna make it public right this second. We're just gonna say state is gonna be a entity state. Did I accidentally create one down here? No, I did not. Okay, so we have an entity state. Uh, in default, we're gonna have to figure out what that means. Also, why am I not getting any errors? I'm gonna turn on the line highlighter. If you want to highlight any lines, you can use bang line, and that will show, you know, highlight something and ask a question or point out any place where I get completely wrong. I'm a little worried that I'm not getting any syntax errors here. Oh, you know why? No, that should be it because it's a mod.rs. So library should still be reaching in and finding a mod entity. That should be fine still. So don't know why. Maybe I need to restart. Is Analyzer not installed for some reason anymore? What happened? No, you're installed, and it's wait. Oh, I don't see. Let's see. No problems. Hmm. I don't know what's going on with Rust Analyzer right now. I don't think it's showing any problems. For example, if I come into this entity and I put a semicolon in, hit save, that should be yelling bloody murder at me, but it doesn't. So, let's try. If you can't find it, let's try disabling it, reloading. And re-enabling it. There we go. New Rust Analyzer version is available, so let's download that. Okay, now you're showing us here. Now if I semicolon. There we go. Now we're getting these errors. That's what I was looking for. Okay, perfect. All right, so we can come down to default because like new, let's see, entity state, we need to pull you in. I have to wait until it finishes indexes before I can have it auto pull in. There it goes. Import you. And we need to implement debug for enemy entity state. And we also need to implement default for this too. And clone needs to handle this as well. Okay, so what is our default state going to be? I'm thinking our default state should probably be entity state none. We just don't have a state. And when we clone it, we're definitely going to want the state in here. So, so self state is going to be self dot state. So we should implement copy and clone for entity state. And that'll make it auto copy when it gets to here. Okay. All right, so that gives us a state, but it doesn't really help us out necessarily right this second. The next thing that I want to do is move into the player physics system. We probably want to pass this state in. when we do this update here, so we have the physics system, we do, okay. So here is if we're standing, that's the only state right now. Well, is that true? If we have a physics system and yeah, like, because I'm thinking if we're none, for example, on our state, we don't want to apply the gravity if we have a physics system. And is that true? Maybe I just want to say if we're standing, but if I'm gonna have something like if we're running, also thinking maybe I want to match. So if self not affected by gravity, then inside of here we want to match self dot state. Oh, we'll fill the match arms. Okay, so if we're none, basically if we're everything other than standing, we're going to do this apply force. But standing, we're not going to do anything at all. And that's that. Then in the physics system, we're going to have to pass in the immutable reference to self.state. Let's go to our physics system. Let's add that in. Okay, so here we are with our state. Now we can start doing some of these checks here. So we're only going to have gravity applied to us if we're not in a standing state, really. And of course, we have this physics system. So here we have our self-velocity. Okay, so add the acceleration that we have to our velocity. Go down. Add our location. Reset our acceleration. Then check with everything else around us. If they're not collidable, ignore them. However, if we overlap with them, then kill our velocity. So we impact with them. And then we want to set our location. So this is where it could potentially get pretty bad here, because if we're underneath it and I jump into it, this is going to teleport us to the top. I don't necessarily want to do that. I think what I want to do is another if statement in here, which is not the best. We could probably break these out into other functions. But basically, we want to check to see if we're mostly on top of it. So if our location is above their location, because remember, it's the center of us and the center of them. So if our location, if location.y is less than the other location.y, then we're clearly on top of them. And that's when I think we can teleport up. And then instead of this self.state, which we don't even have here. So, oh no, we do. Okay, we have a player state in here. I think we want to remove this and not have this player state thing. We're going to use the state for the entity. So then here, we're going to say state equals entity state standing. So start standing, and that's it. Mismatch types. Okay, let's dereference this so we can get access to the area memory where we want to state set. And there we go. So theoretically, this is going to work. Maybe. Let's find out. So it does work. I do get hit in there like all the way before it sort of like teleports back up and resettles in. And so it does make me wonder how I want to handle that. It may not be that big of a problem. But I do kind of wonder, is the boxes around us proper? So for our player draw system, if I draw, let's say like probably not a red box because our platform is red. We have our location, which is this rectangle. Let's go ahead and create. Yeah, so here's like the center circle that we care about. If I change this into a border, and you're going to be a rectangle. Okay, so the bounds. I can't actually give this as the bounds of the location. Well, actually, can I? Let's try it. Let's just give it a reference to the location, and then color. Let's make this white. We're going to build that and draw out the border. Do you need to be a reference here? No, oh, it's double reference now. Do I need to dereference you? Sorry, dereference you? Oh, yeah, okay, that's what it wants. And then it copies it from there. Because it needs a full rect. But it will clone or copy, so we'll be fine. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Although, is our collision detection having that? Is that what our problem is? In our player physics system, yeah, so if I'm just drawing out exactly what that location is, that's not correct. We're not having like the full width. And I think this is where potentially having our location be erect is a major problem, because I'm using it to easily store the X, Y, the height, and the width, but that is only going to work if we're storing the location from the top left of the object. But I'm storing the locations from the center of the object, which is definitely not what we need. So let's instead, I think we need to change this. So instead of location like this, we're going to do, we can just do X and Y. Or we can do location as a vector too. It could be an n algebra vector 2, which we already have here. And then we're going to have a width as F32 and a height as an F32. However, that being said, that now affects everything else because we have this. Now we have to fix all these. So that's going to be fun. Okay, so set size, self dot. You're just going to be straight up self dot width. Now, for our draw here, we can't pass in the location anymore. Well, can we? We can. And it's going to be the center of us, but I think what that means is we also have to pass in the width and the height in order for it to know exactly where to draw us. Because that might be a problem. So we're gonna have to pass in a reference to self dot location, also a reference to self dot width, and a reference to self dot height. Now I could also create my own type that wraps around both like the rectangle and basically does that for us, but that feels like it's maybe getting a little bit too complex. Okay, so in default here, our location, you now need to be a vector 2 new 0, 0, 0. We also need a width of 0, 0 and height. So location is fine, and then we also need a width, height. And then when we implement clone, okay, so location just clones that. We're gonna have width, self dot width, height, self dot height. All right, so now everything else is yelling at us. I'm kind of surprised it's not yelling at us on the other side because yeah, because it's saying like, hey, it's an N algebra thing. But I'm telling it like, hey, you're supposed to be getting this rect. Let's go ahead and update our trait here first, and we'll copy that in. So this is going to be a mutable reference to a vector 2, which I don't have here at all. So it's going to be an N algebra vector 2. Let's go ahead and qualify that. And then we'll have our width. I'm going to give this as a mutable reference to it for right now. I think for the physics system, there's a chance that we might like actually change our width and our size. Maybe we can like destroy it. I don't know. Maybe I should actually have this as just a reference as an F32. Of course, it could just be an F32. Copying it actually might be faster. I can never remember what's faster. Okay, so if I do that, I'm gonna come back into the player physics system and update you. And then down here. All right, so oh, we don't have others. What happened to that? Did I have? Oh, others was this entity. Did I just completely destroy it in here? No, it was here. It wasn't here this entire time. So I need to add that in. So in player physics system, you want to have this others as well. Let's go ahead and add you into. So others is a vec of entity. Oh, that's collidables. That's what that is. Okay, got it. I'm gonna call this others. That'll make you happy. Okay, so then we have this if location dot overlaps. So we have a couple choices here. I can actually create rectangles during this physics loop. It shouldn't take too much time to do that. And then we can check to see if they're overlapping. Or we can just implement our collision detection ourselves, which I think might be the best way. What I can do here is do if self dot overlaps with. And we're gonna give other dot. I think we can give just the other, which already is a reference. But we have to give our location too. So that's gonna be we have to give our location, our width, and our height. And then the other. And it's probably going to be an internal function overlaps with. All right, so we know we're going to take a reference to self. I don't think we need to mutate anything because I'm just going to have this return a Boolean, and then we'll just do the rest of it here. Okay, so overlaps, we have location, width, height, and other. So our location, that is a vector 2. Then I think width and height. Yeah. And then other, which is a reference to an entity. We're going to return a Boolean to determine are we overlapping with them in any way, shape, or form. So overlapping with other things is not like I've always like it's always sort of been my my arch nemesis. So if we take something like this, we have these two squares, and we want to check to see are they just not touching, or are they overlapping with each other? So in this position, for example, we can see that the right-hand side is to the right of here. So that's going to be our first check. Is the right-hand side of, let's say that this red is ourselves. So are we our right to the right of the other left. So is our right side to the right of the other's left. Now at the same time, there's an and, right? So if we continue moving to the right, let's say, we're no longer connecting. So at this point in time, is our left side to the left of their right. So and is our left side to the left of the other's right. And then we wanted to do the y axis. So moving downwards, we're not connecting. Suddenly we are. So is our bottom below the other top? So and is our bottom below the other's top? And then as we continue down, we're going to be here. Is our top above the other's bottom? So, and is our top above the other's bottom? So if all of those things are true, then we return true. Otherwise, we return false. That's our bounding box collision. Now we have to remember that our location is based upon the center of us. So our right-hand side is actually going to be our location plus half of our width. But let's like follow this. So we're going to do is our right side to the left of the other's left. So that's going to be our location dot x is that to the right. So plus our width divided by 2. So that's our right-hand side. Is that to the right of the other's left? So is that greater than the other dot location? Well, that's why we need to go into entity and make location public so we can access it. Okay, location dot x. And then this is the same thing. We have to subtract, and we have to make sure that our width and height here are also public. Okay, so if that's greater than the other locations, left-hand side, so that's going to be minus other dot width divided by 2.0. Okay. And is our left side, okay, so left side time, our location dot x minus width divided by 2.0, is that to the left, so less than the others, so other location dot x plus other dot width divided by 2.0. Okay, so that's are we to the left of the others right hand side? Okay, we've got that now. And is our bottom below the other's top? So and our location dot y, the bottom is going to be plus height divided by 2.0. So is that below the other's top? Below. So that's going to be greater than the top is going to be the other.location.y minus other.height divided by 2. And then finally, and is our top. So our location.y minus height divided by 2.0 above the other's bottom. So less than other.location.y plus other.height divided by 2.0. So I'm going to take this entire thing and we return that. That's our Boolean. We can come back down to here and say, okay, so if self overlaps with what are you need to be a mutable reference because that's what I guess you could just be a reference. I think that'll make you happy. Yeah. Okay, so we then kill our velocity because we've impacted with the other. Can I right click? There. Okay, so then if we're mostly on top of them, so if our location.y is less than the other location.y, okay, so if we're above them, then set our location.y to the other location.y minus the other other.height divided by 2.0 minus our height. So that would be just height divided by 2.0. And then we set our state to standing. So I think that would work. We've got 9 errors. Oh, it's this silly thing where it's talking about the macros again. Let's go ahead and run this and see how it looks. Oh, you're okay. So you're not showing me the real errors. Oh, draw system expects 5 arguments, but 7 were supplied. Did I put that in the wrong mod? Well, this is gonna be a problem. Entity mod. Okay, so entity and mod. Line 87. So here's the draw. We also need to update our update. For the physics system. Yeah, okay, so we're all upset here. Let's start this over again. So this is gonna be our location. It's gonna be immutable self dot location. Then we're gonna have a width, self dot width, self dot height. The others. Can we grab this self dot grid? Oh, we're on entity. Oh, we already have those. So collidable others. And then we have the state, which is a mutable reference to entity state. So that's going to be mute self dot state. So you should be happy here. In draw, we haven't updated you, but you're going to be upset because this location isn't actually a rect anymore. This location is going to be a reference to a vector 2. which also means we're going to need a width 32 and a height f32. So if we take this, go into you, update all of you. Player draw system, we're going to do the same thing here. Then down here, okay, so we're now drawing our border around. I'm not sure we necessarily need to do this right now, so I'm going to just comment that out. All right, so for the mod, this doesn't need to be a reference. Maybe no errors. It's kind of hard to tell. There, it doesn't like go in and then bounce back out again. So we've solved that problem. Now we still might have like a strange issue where we're not actually drawing exactly where we think that we are. So let's draw the center white dot over, I guess, like the circle, and let's also draw it around. I guess we could draw the let's see, for physics, we didn't save you. Surprised I had an unsaved file and that worked. Okay, so let's try setting for our draw system, for the platform draw system. Let's draw a border around it according to what our physics system that the player knows what this looks like. So I'm going to do border equals builder new rectangle draw mode. Let's do a stroke. For the bounds, a rect new. All right, so for our x, we can't start at the center where our location is. It's going to have to be our location at x minus our height divided by 2.0. And it's going to be location.y minus your width, okay, minus height divided by 2.0. I mean, it doesn't matter in this case. I think it's a square. And then, okay, so then the width and height go in. And then for this, let's make you white. And we'll build. And then we're going to draw this. Okay. Let's see if we get a border around our platform. There it is. Okay. Can you see that? That looks barely visible. My brightness. That is very low brightness. I'm gonna make this a 2.0. That should make it a lot easier to see, especially like the white on the red around the, yeah, okay. Now I can see that a lot better. So we see that our physics system does know that that's the borders of this. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for our circle. So that's our player here. Peyton rules, raiding with a party of 3. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, Peyton. How are you doing today? How is your stream? And I saw I sort of like popped in a little bit and looked right before I streamed. You were still working on the your to do app, right? So I saw something about error handling, and you found some areas where you were ignoring errors. But I mean, it's looking like you're now starting to get builds for iOS, so that's really good. Yeah, I've been finishing up for what seems like forever. I can see that. I feel like the last 90%, the last 10% of a project feels like 90% of a project sometimes. First 80% done, on to the second 80%. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it feels like. All right, everybody, if you've not been here before, we every time we get rated, we play the Get the Streamer game, which this is a game that we created here. It's built in Rust and GG Easy, and it's a chat-based game. So you're going to use chat messages to send these things at me from these locations. And then we keep a tally score over the long haul. So I'm going to do my best to, follow chat and also avoid all of your stuff at the same time. What? Oh, I thought I could get away from that. Who wrote this game? Did that random not drop? Oh, but he gave me a heart with a random, so I'm happy about that. I think the heart has like a 10% chance or some very, very low chance of dropping when you do random. Oh, I'm surprised that didn't get me compared to like what some of the other ones were. Oh, now I've won. Now I've won. But Alkeus, you still get the points for those hearts because those are 10 each. Alkeus with 38 points, which gives you now a total of 54. You're bad at making decisions, so you just do random. Yeah, there's a few people who are not here right now, but they've I think that they have like a loop that they'll create in the browser, so with just JavaScript that will just send the message at the exact time that you're allowed to. And I think they use random to sort of not have to like write some kind of like advanced bot to try to do any kind of crazy stuff. Um, Hidden feature, if you leave off the number, it will randomly choose where to drop it as well. So you could just do random, and that would be it. That's a um undocumented feature for it. Yeah, it's one of those things where like, oh, okay, fine. We'll just, if you forget to put a number in, I'll still allow it to drop, and I won't punish you for it. All right. So what are we doing? I want to now draw a border around our player. So here's our, do the exact same thing. Now for our rectangles, we have a draw mode stroke 2.0. Our bounds, this now needs to be a rect new. Okay, so for our location, this can be location.x minus width divided by 2. Our y is going to be location.y minus height divided by 2. And then we have our width and our height. We give it this color, which is white. That's fine for right now. And then we build it and display it. Let's go ahead and run this and see. Make sure that the... Oh, so take a look at this. Our collision detection sphere, like, so for this circle, and this is like potentially where having our player be a circle is not the necessarily like the best choice here. If we were to actually use a real image, then it would be more of a rectangle. Let's actually go in and change our drawables to have the player not be a circle, but be a, probably be some kind of like rectangle for this. And given that, I think that our drawables, when we initialize this, we're definitely going to need to have a config in here. So give me a reference to a config. So instead of circle, we're going to do a dot rectangle, draw mode, fill our bounds. New, okay, so where are we putting this? Do we have a, is the config showing the start X? No, we don't have like the start, the player start position. Arctic Space Fox, hello! Let's have a pub player start X. We're also going to want a pub player with oh, you love my hype? Oh, thank you so much. Oh man, I love that. I love Harding's Bob character. That is a great emote. And you, did you draw that? I cannot remember. And the energy too. Oh yeah. It's pretty small on my screen, but it looks good. The concept is from Yasmin, but you drew it. Okay, that's pretty awesome. You just made the rest. Oh, it's still really great. I love it. All right, so we're gonna have a starting location for this, a starting width and a starting height. And so we're gonna have to place these in here for like what the defaults are gonna be. I'm actually thinking I'm gonna transition away from doing it this style, like all up here, so I can just do it once. or twice, I guess. One day you'll make me some. Oh well, if you make me, I will add them in. The alternative is like me taking photos and cutting them out of Zilby. So that's why I have this. It didn't turn out the best. The Zilby work nap. That's Zilby with a tie on, lying down, and sleeping on like one of our tables. And I was able to cut out everything around him, and I turned that into an emote. It's a little bit hard to see though. I thought it was a lot of fun. I'm perfectly willing to replace that as soon as we get like better ones to put in though. Maybe I can get one where he's sitting up with a tie on. That could be fine. Then I'll get like just his face and the beginning of the tie. All right, so with this one, we're gonna want the player start X. Where do we want to put this? Let's go to the main library and see where we're placing our player. So here's our player. We're giving them 50 and 50. Let's go ahead and actually put this into our config here. So we're gonna do 50.0. Player start Y is 50.0. We have the player width, and the player height. Now, in this case, I don't think this is going to matter very much because we're not going to hard code this anymore. We're going to allow this to, we're gonna have this be dynamic. So let's actually make this more like a real player. We're going to have the width be something like 50.0, but the player height be 100.0. Which is going to be a little bit more realistic. Arctic Spacebox, you are waiting for your drawing tablet. Ooh, that sounds a lot of fun. And you're cooking lobster bisque for your family. Oh, lobster bisque is so good. That's also my father's favorite dish. Like that will dictate which restaurants he goes to if they have a good lobster bisque. All right, so for our player, what am I doing here? Player. Oh, right. We're setting this in. So now we have our config here. So, our config is our X position is going to be the config dot player start. We're actually going to place this. So we want it in the center. And if I put it as the negatives, okay, so we're going to have, you're not just going to be 0.0, you're going to be negative config dot player width divided by 2.0. And then for the height, we're going to have negative config dot player height divided by 2.0. And then the width is going to be the config dot player width and config dot player height. Okay, so that's going to be our rectangle for the player. We need to have a color for this. Now we're eventually going to replace this with an image. Hello, Chantilly. Happy Wednesday. Let's see. I don't have one, but let's just go ahead and make this like a nice blue. Maybe I can do like a light blue. So let's do something like 0.1, 0.1, 1.0, 1.0. That it's probably not going to be blue, but it'll probably be hopefully something nice to look at. Okay, so back to our library. When we do our drawables, we need to also pass in a reference to the config so it can grab all those values out of it when it's creating them. And for our player, let's also make sure we're doing this properly. So our location is going to be our config.player start x, config.player start y, and then set size for our width and a height. That's going to be the config.player width, player height. We'll eventually want to do the same thing for the platform so we can define what that is. But with that, let's go ahead and run this and see if our player looks appropriate. There we go. And we see that our border is exactly around it, and it just connects on top of it. So it's perfect. All right. So basically we have collision detection working. We have they stand on top of each other. It's no longer in a falling state. So I can probably turn those borders off, but it might be nice to like keep them on too if I really want them to be there. And I think we're in a better place. Basically, if we hit it from the bottom, we're not going to we're gonna kill our velocity, but we're not gonna like teleport to the top of it. So that way, if we're like in caves of some kind or there's a platform above us, it's not gonna be the worst thing in the world. Okay. What would be the next thing that I want to do here? I think we're gonna want to create our map of some kind, so that I can create a whole bunch of these platforms all around. And I'm gonna want the draw system on the update loop to take all of the platforms and then combine them into a single mesh, essentially, and then display them out. And then later on, it'll probably be an image, and we can have like whatever this platform image is, we'll grab that from the drawables, have to create a what is it called, the draw the sprite batch, and then just sort of replicate them wherever they're needed, and then draw them out that way. But I think I'm going to do that next time. I don't really have time to start a new thing. Let's go ahead and fix all of these warnings. Not those. So we're not using this rectangle. In our mod, oh, so okay. Clippy is yelling at us saying we have too many arguments in here, so we need to reduce them. 7 is apparently the maximum that Clippy wants us to have, and we want to follow by Clippy's. So one thing that we can do is we could refactor to use a location to like turn that into a different struct. Maybe on like a utility struct that then has a width and a height, and its location is a vector 2. Almost like creating our own rectangle type struct, except it's based on the center. That might be nice. The other thing that we can do to sort of like make things a little bit easier right now is combine the width and the height to be like a size. And then this can be a tuple of an F32, F32. And that should make you happy right now, Clippy. And then we'll just do this. We'll destructure this right here, which will be, we'll have a width and a height, which is coming from a tuple of an F32, F32. Okay, there you go. Next up, unused import, this point 2. Okay. And we're no longer using this rect. And that's it. No more warnings. We can do a cargo test, and everything should apparently not work. Entity mod. Why aren't you telling me this? Entity mod, line 86. Oh, well, if I change the trait and I change those functions, we also have to change where we're calling them here. So here in the draw, here's our self.width and self.height. We need to wrap parentheses around this, and that'll be our size. I think that makes you happy. Okay, so failed entity set size. Okay, so this is entity mod line 71. This is our doc test here. Okay, so we create a new entity. We're going to player set size, and then the way this works now is it should just be player dot and then whatever it is. So player dot width should now be that, and height should be that. All right, all the tests are passing. I don't see, we still have some warnings in here. All right, so we have our draw system, line 27. Yeah, you're unused. Let's go ahead and underscore you because we're not using them. And then I think we're good to go. There we go. And now that's working exactly as expected. Let's go ahead and push this code on up. So, I mean, there's a bunch of refactorings, but basically we are refactored entity. It's not really refactored. We added state to entities so that we can apply gravity and collide and stand on platforms. That's really what we did. I'm going to push that. I also have this VNC viewer, and I want to start this process up. Now that's going to take a while. I don't think I necessarily, well, we'll see how long this takes. It's not too many files that we changed, and it looks like it's almost ready. So in the meantime, while we're waiting for this, I'm going to go ahead and look to see who's streaming right now. Nobody on the rest side. And there we go. This is what it looks like in the Raspberry Pi 4. Pretty good. There was a little tiny bit of hitching there, but I don't necessarily know if that's a problem right now. We're also creating, like, these squares over them are being created as meshes. Yeah, that time it was like no hitching whatsoever. Every single frame, which is obviously a problem. We're not going to do that. In reality, that's taking up some extra power. But there we go. We have we now have tested that on the Raspberry Pi as well, which is perfect. So I'm going to, let's see, everything is good here. I'm going to switch over to my ending screen. I didn't see anybody